Good morning. Today we will be doing a question on the A levels databases lesson. Here in this question, if you look at this, Mehrdad has a holiday company database that includes data about holidays such as the location, date, duration in days, data about the customers and the holidays they have booked. So the question is, Mehrdad has normalized the database which has 3 tables. Draw an entity relationship diagram for the normalized tables. So if you look at this example, we can clearly make out that there are about 3 entities in here. So there are only 3 entities. So what are they? Customer, holiday, and booking. Now, how do we form the ER diagram? So when you talk about the ER diagram, this diagram will explain the relationship between each entity. Now, if you look at the customer, customers book holidays, right? So for each customer, one customer can have more than one bookings. So there will be a one to many relationship between the entities customer and booking. So if I take the customer entity here, entities are generally represented using rectangles, and if I take the booking here, so between these two entities we would be having a one to many relationship. This is how we represent the one to many relationship. Similarly, holiday is another one of the entities, the third entity. So for each holiday, in any given holiday, you can have multiple bookings. So there will definitely be a one to many relationship between the holiday and booking entities as well. So here in this ER diagram, we do have two one to many relationships. One relationship between the customer and booking, and the second one between holiday and booking. Now we go to the second part of the question. Complete the table to identify the primary key and foreign keys for each of the tables you identified in part A. If the table has no foreign keys, write none. So we do have 3 entities. The first one was customer. So we write it in here. The second one was booking. And the third one was holiday. So we write down these. So what would be the primary keys for each one of these tables? In the customer table, customer ID would be the primary key, and there is no foreign key in here, so we would write it as none because the question specifies to write none if there is no foreign key. And for holiday as well, we go with holiday ID as the primary key, and it would be none in the foreign key section. Now if you look at the booking would consist of the customer ID as well as holiday ID as the foreign keys. So the booking ID would be the primary key, and customer ID, holiday ID would be the foreign keys for this table. So that's how we solve that question. Now the third part of the question says, explain why the holiday database is in third normal form. So what do you mean by a relation being in third normal form? So for one thing, there should be no many to many relationships. When you talk about a third normal form, we need to have two things. There are no transitive dependencies and there are no many to many relationships. So if you look at this table structure as well, the none of the fields in any given table depend on any other fields of the table. They totally depend on the primary key of the table. So there are no no partial dependencies. So we will write it as completely fully dependent on the primary key. So all fields in each table are fully dependent on the primary key of the table. This is one reason for the table being in the third normal form. The second one being there are no many-to-many relationships. There are only two one-to-many relationships. We just saw it in the previous question. So when there are no many-to-many relationships, we do consider that relation to be in third normal form. So these two are the reasons why the holiday database is in the third normal form. Let's go to the next part of the question. So if you look at this question here, the holiday company has several members of staff. The database has two additional tables. So we have staff, where the underlined field in here is the primary key and the dotted underline is the foreign key. So the staff ID in here would be the foreign key here, and this would be the primary key of this table, and this would be the primary key of the staff table. Now there is some sample data that is shown from the schedule table. Now write an SQL script to display the first name and the second name of all the staff members working on this particular date. Now if you look at this, one criteria from this query, that is first name and the second name, are present in the staff table. So these two fields come from the staff table, and this working on this particular date, that is the work date, this is from the schedule table. So your data is being drawn from more than one tables, which would require a join condition. So you need to always remember, whenever there are more than one tables to consider in a query, you would require a join condition, and the join condition is always done using the foreign key, because this foreign key, that is the staff ID, is present in both the tables. So we use that as the join condition. So when you want to write the query, the first part of it is the field list. Field list is what are the fields that you want to display. Here in this question it says first name and the second name have to be displayed. So we write the select statement. We start with select. So these two fields belong to the staff table. So we just write it with the staff table. So staff dot, so that we use the dot field dot membership operator here. So first name is the name of the field, comma, staff dot second name. That will be the field list. From is the table list. That is, we have the data coming from two different tables. So from staff, comma, schedule. Now there are two conditions that you would require to write. One is the join condition. The second one is the work date condition. So where work date. So the work date belongs to the schedule table. So we write schedule dot work date is equal to, the date is given as 22/05/2020. Please do not forget to write the date in single quotes, and along with this condition we need to write the join condition. Join condition will be table name dot field name equal to table 2 name dot field name. So here staff dot staff ID is equal to schedule dot staff ID. So this would be the query for the question. We go to the next part of the question. Write an SQL script to count the number of people working on the morning of 26 May. So if you look at this table in here, there is the morning in here. So morning value is true or false, and the work date. So the date and the morning have to be taken into consideration. So all the data is coming only from one table, so there is no need of a join condition in here. So count is given to you using the aggregate function count. So how do we write the query? So we start with select count of staff ID, because that's the number of people we count for. Count of staff ID from, we have the data coming only from one table, which is schedule. The condition here, there are two conditions. One condition relates to the working date and the second one relates to the time of working. So where work date, where work date is equal to, the date is 26/05/2020, and morning, the value of morning is true or false, right? So the morning is the name of the field. Morning equal to true. So this will be your query.